Welcome. We will begin with a video for our Indigenous Lands tribute.
Welcome back to Matter of Fact. May is Mental Health Awareness Month. It's had that designation since 1949. LGBTQ community mental health struggles can emerge as a result is dependent on radical self-acceptance. A young two-spirit couple from Nevada, Sean and dancers, taking part in a celebration previously reserved for traditional couples at Native powwows. Here's their story.
We are not the typical sweetheart pair that you would see out in the arena or dancing anywhere. We are the first same-sex couple to go out there and compete with other couples.
I am Adrian, I am Two-Spirit, I am also Shoshone-Bannock, Northern Ute, and San Carlos Apache.
I am Sean, I am Navajo. I am an artist, and this is my partner, Adrian.
When I was younger, I can't think of a queer person publicly that represented me or my lineage or my culture. And I never saw that in a space that which we're doing today. We see our dancing as a way to honor our heritage and who we are. So Sweethearts is really being out there in that arena and showing your love and compassion for one another.
We, as a two-spirit couple, have faced a lot of challenges, being out there and just being open with ourselves and our identity. We pushed for that acceptance. We really fought for that space to be out there and amongst people. And it made our voices stronger and our presence stronger.
We're always there to encourage and support everyone else that is trying to be vocal.
And I think it's more important than ever for us as Native Americans or Indigenous people to speak up about our identities and the issues that matter to us.
It chokes me up to talk about it because we hear so many times of our two-spirit brothers and sisters leaving this world and leaving this world in a way that we don't want them to leave.
It's really the power the love that we get from other people, and especially other two-spirit relatives and friends that keep pushing us forward.
I know that us being two-spirit and being very public has created the conversation for a lot of Native homes. So they may not talk about it as they see us dancing, but there's a conversation to be had when they get in the car or on the ride home, and often it's very positive.
In the last few decades, we've seen a much bigger acceptance within our Native American communities of our two-spirit people, and seeing that people standing up for them, making spaces and protecting them, which is nice to see and very hopeful for us that a lot of tribes and individual nations start recognizing their LGBT plus queer members and their rights and their identities.
We've learned that we can change the opinion almost of what people may think two-spirit is, and then when they see us and how we carry ourselves and represent the community.
Be proud, be true, keep dancing.
The painting of Adrian and Sean was done by Native American artist Derek No Sun Brown. He's of Shoshone, Bannock, Klamath, and Anishinaabe ancestry.
Good morning. Good morning and welcome to our annual Pride service. I am so glad you're here. It's going to be a fun Sunday. We hope that there's a lot of joy. We'll also have served this congregation as senior minister. Not long after I arrived here at First UU, I sensed a need to reestablish a group for people living on the rainbow. The group is designed to connect people who face common history and struggles in the face of gender and sex-oriented phobias. Rainbow Connection, as the group came to be called, is a safe place to have fun, share stories, and listen to one another. Our service today is presented by Rainbow Connection, and we invite everyone to help us celebrate the rainbows of our lives. Spirit move you. Here's your first invitation to sing and move as you're willing and able. Michaela will lead us in the opening song, Let It Be a Dance, number 311 in your gray hymn book. The words will also be on the screen. But I invite you to rise and be prepared to move with the Spirit. Let us sing. Please be seated.
Good morning. I'm Amy Eldridge and a member of the First UU Rainbow Connection group. My pronouns are she, her, hers. If you'd like more information on Rainbow Connection, please see Barb Fisher or visit the Rainbow Connection table in Beach Hall following the service. Please let us know you are here today by filling out our check-in form, online or at the greeter's stand. This simple act helps us maintain connections within our congregation. You can access a digital order of service, the Joys and Sorrows form, and our donation page by scanning the QR code right up there, or by visiting firstuucolumbus.org/Sunday. We also have pen and paper Joys and Sorrow cards, which you can submit at the table in the back of the sanctuary, right back there. We have an announcement this morning from our Board of Trustees. Carol Lee?
Good morning. I'm not Carol Lee. My name is Lisa Brandt. My pronouns are she, her, hers. As a member of the Board of Trustees, I'd like to invite you to attend our annual business meeting today at 11:30 following the worship service. We'll take a few minutes break after the worship service and then gather back up at 11:30. This meeting will be in hybrid format, allowing you to attend either online or in person here in the worship center. As we have the past couple of years, the elections for leaders and Share the Plate will be online, closing at noon today. So if you've not voted, find that email from OPA Vote, get that done before noon. The budget and the minutes of the mid-year meeting will be approved live at the meeting. We are grateful to everyone who agreed to run for election. As always, you can reach us at board@firstuucolumbus.org if you have any questions or suggestions. Thank you for participating in the business of the congregation, and we look forward to seeing you today.
I would like to help light our chalice by bringing in the light to meet Amber, waving her hands in the back there, and go out into the welcome hall to prepare. Our young people will return in just a few moments. Let us center ourselves as we listen to this morning's prelude.
If you are joining us online, please bring your candle or chalice closer so we can light our chalice together. Our chalice lighting words this morning are from Gertrude Stein. She was an American novelist, poet, playwright, and art collector, and lesbian. In our chalice lighting words, she invites us to be ourselves and find joy. You look ridiculous if you dance. You look ridiculous if you don't dance. So you might as well dance. Thank you. Our chalice is lit. That's awesome to see our young people. And now, Amber's going to have a story for us.
Thank you, Ben, for your help lighting our chalice this morning. We are currently putting together Sunday school teaching teams for the next church year. Please email amber@firstuucolumbus.org to get involved. I'm Amber Scott, your Director of Religious Exploration. Activities for families with children are happening during the worship service today, back in the classroom wing and outside on the playground. After the story, you will have the opportunity to join us if you are interested. Of course, families are also welcome to remain in the service if that's what you would like today. Our story this morning is called Worm Loves Worm, written by J.J. Austin and illustrated by Mike Curito. Worm loves worm. Let's be married, said worm to worm. Yes, answers worm, let's be married. Wait, said cricket, you need someone to marry you. That's how it's always been done. I'll marry you. Now can we be married? Asks worm. Wait, said beetle, you've got to have a best beetle. Naturally, that would be me. Now can we be married? Asks worm. Wait, said the bees. You need bride's bees. Can we be the bride's bees? Please, please, please. Yes, said worm. Now can we be married? But wonderful, says worm. Now we can be married. Just make sure to have a band so we can dance, said beetle. But we don't have feet to dance with, says Worm. We can just wiggle around, says Worm, like this. Fun, says Worm. Now can we be married? But you still need a white dress and a tuxedo, a top hat, lots and lots of flowers, and a cake with frosting, said the bees. But we don't have heads for hats, says Worm, or hands to hold flowers. And we only eat dirt, says Worm. Wait, said Spider. I can attach the hat and flowers to you with my sticky web. Thank you, say Worm and Worm. But who will eat the cake? Ask the bees. I can eat the cake along with Cricket and Beetle, says Spider. What did you say? Asked Cricket and Beetle. Nothing, says Spider with a smile. Now we can be married, says Worm. But which of you is the bride? Asked the bees. How can we be bride's bees if we don't know who the bride is? I could be the bride, says Worm. I can too, says Worm. But one of you has to be the groom, or how can I be the best beetle? Asks Beetle. I could be the groom, says Worm. I can too, says Worm. We can be both. Amazing, says Spider. Really? Ask Beetle and bees. Wait, says Cricket. This isn't how it's always been done. Then we'll just change how it's done, says Worm. Yes, says Worm. And so they were married, because Worm loves Worm. In this story, Worm and Worm fall in love and invent a whole new way of doing things. Along with the support of their community, they show and share their love together.
Hello, I'm Shirley Lang. I'm a member of the First UU Rainbow Connections group. My pronouns are she, her, hers. I'm going to share a Facebook post by the Reverend Laura Solomon, who's currently the Director of Spiritual Growth at the UU Church of Silver Spring, Maryland. Can we focus on queer joy? I'm seeing so many messages and memes that say things about how we need Pride Month because, quote, somewhere a kid believes they're better off dead, unquote. So much of what is shared about queerness this month involves statistics about violence and suicide. We actually need Pride Month so we can see queer futures and queer joy and embrace queer imagination and life and love. We need Pride Month to expand the narrative about queerness. Queerness is not just about coming out. Queerness is not about whether the rest of the world accepts us or not. Queerness is about living lives of authenticity and love. So Pride is about seeing queer elders and queer adults and queer kids living their lives, which means loving and living and going on vacation and cooking dinner and going to the grocery store. It's stories about queer people in love, in their best life, seeing a future where to live in and love a world. We know there is pain and love.
Connections group. My pronouns are she, her.
I am Edward Bowers. My pronouns are he, him, his. Our reading today is from hablar.com. We are going to discuss what does LGBTQ
Diverse groups of people in the world that, ever since the uprising of terms such as LGBT, so that even the
This is probably the longest community. This acronym stands for lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender, intersex, questioning, curious, asexual, pansexual, gender nonconforming, gender fluid, non-binary, and androgynous. Out of these, 7 terms are related to sexual orientation, and 6 are pertaining to gender identities.
an acronym of 13 letters representing a rainbow bigger than we can imagine. A rainbow celebrating the diversity of who we are, fully human, fully alive, and full of stories.
And now I invite our Rainbow Choir to come forward and sing True Colors. We should have Rainbow Choir more often. That's fun. And we've had 2 choirs so far this morning. I remind you that we have a summer choir sometimes sing, so it's an open choir in the summer. Now we invite you on a journey back in time, way back to the 1920s and moving gaily forward as the LGBTQ plus people began to be seen. There were tough times, there were fun times, and there were courageous times. There were leaders and everyday folk who dared to make a difference. We learned from them, and along with our allies, we carry the work forward. Rights Movement by Chris book that has particular histories or just our Greg, Dave.
To shave, brother, just loves his permanent wave. It's hard to tell them apart today. Knickers and trousers baggy and wide. Nobody knows who's walking inside. That was the lyrics for Masculine Women, Feminine Men by Edgar Leslie, James V. Monaco in 1926.
We are not afraid to be queer and different. If that means hell, well, hell will take a chance. We are also straight and uptight and upright and rigid. They march in lockstep as we prefer to dance. We see a world of romance and pleasure. All they see is sheer vanity. Lavender lights are our greatest treasure, where we 1920.
From the world of the night and days in the closet to rebellion, the Roaring Twenties to World War, Stonewall to coming out. We're here, but it was a brutal journey.
Stonewall, June 28, 1969. We were dancing, my lover and I, and the next thing we know, the lights came on and, hey, we're being raided. Queens started being filed out and put into police cars. Guns had been drawn. Molotov cocktails were flying, and I'm like, oh my God, the revolution is here. Thank God. This experience was reported by Sylvia Rivera about the police raid of a small neighborhood bar on Christopher Street in Greenwich Village. These raids were not unusual, but Stonewall became known for sparking the LGBTQ+ movement.
By early summer 1969, closet doors were beginning to open, even as the backlash intensified. Conformity ruled the day. The repressive 1950s-era laws targeting gays. Even the U.S. Senate deemed homosexuals generally unsuitable for employment. Little did they know just how many queer people were their coworkers in government and elsewhere.
The rebellion was brewing. There were many small, spur-of-the-moment uprisings in the 1960s, but it was the Christopher Street Gay Liberation Day March in 1970, marking the first anniversary of Stonewall, the first Pride Parade. That was almost more important than the uprising itself. Quote, "Just please let there be more than 10 of us," unquote, gay rights activist Doric Wilson said about that day in the 2011 documentary Stonewall Uprising. Quote, "We were about 120 people, and there were people lining the sidewalks ahead of us to watch us go by. Gay people, mainly," unquote. Activist and fellow marcher Jerry Hughes adds, quote, "We were scared, and we walked the rest of the whole thing with tears running down our face," unquote. "Keep your heads up," Hughes shouted to his fellow marchers. "You're not in a dark bar anymore, but in the sunshine."
Sometimes history brings tears to your eyes. Stonewall and the inaugural Pride Parade were tipping points. In the 1960s, the LGBTQ plus people were demanding freedom of expression, and that was seen as having inherent worth and value as human beings. Danny Garvin, a Stonewall demonstrator, observed, "There was no going back now. We had discovered a power that we weren't even aware we had." There was a groundswell of energy and organizing. A flyer posted in Greenwich Village began this way as it blared, "Pent up." Fast forward to 1978, Gilbert Baker, artist and rights activist, had an idea.
In 1978, when I thought of creating a flag for the gay movement, there was no other international symbol for us than the pink triangle, which the Nazis used to identify homosexuals in concentration camps. Even though the pink triangle was and still is a powerful symbol, the only thing that could rally before because it seemed like such an obvious symbol for us.
Queer culture began to seep into and be adopted by the larger culture. As Andrew Sullivan noted, popular culture was suffused with stunning displays of homosexual burlesque, the music of Queen, the costumes of the Village People, the flamboyance of Elton John's debut, the advertising of Calvin Klein, and the intoxication of disco itself, a gay creation that became emblematic of an entire heterosexual era. About this time, the women's movement began to emerge. Regardless of what people say, it was chock full of lesbians, said human rights activist Elizabeth Birch. Conferences were being held that included women workers, minority women, and, gasp, lesbians. Then, disaster struck. AIDS.
Not me, the AIDS. In an exchange, Larry Kramer, playwright, novelist, and journalist, wrote in a piece called The Normal Heart. A patient is brought in to see a doctor. They were all seeking disease as the most insidious killer I've ever seen or studied or heard about. And I think we're seeing only the tip of the iceberg. And I'm afraid it's on the rampage. I'm frightened nobody important is going to give a damn, because it seems to be happening mostly to gay men.
It was also the time of Princess Diana. The Princess of Wales became the first person to touch an AIDS patient barehanded in a hospital. It was the time of Rock Hudson. When the matinee idol died of AIDS, Elizabeth Taylor wrote, "I was with him the night before he died. We laughed about making chocolate martinis. He was just skin and bones. And I thought, I'm going to do everything." And it was the time of the AIDS memorial quilt. Each panel, 3 feet by 6 feet, the size of a grave. Each panel, a name. Each panel, a life. Each panel multiplied by more panels. Hundreds, thousands, millions. A somber ritual of remembering lives, one at a time, through thread, fabric, and what too. Outside is dedicated as an AIDS memorial wall. It was built by the entire LGBTQ plus group and friends and family of those who died of AIDS. If you go out there after the service, you will find a dozen roses by the plaque.
And marches. He ends one of the sections this way. Well, perhaps the religious right is right about something. We call for the end of the world as we know it. We call for the end of racism and bigotry as we know it, for the end of violence and discrimination and homophobia as we know it, to know it, and we will not be denied.
Today, the colors of the rainbow are increasing and becoming more inclusive. Ideas of sexual orientation are being challenged, and gender lines are blurred and fluid. Finish though, there's much work to be done. We continue our ancestors' and predecessors' efforts as trans people seek acceptance and equality. We work to erase the isms and use love to outshine the phobias. It is not. The world changes in direct proportion to the number of people willing to be honest about their lives. Amen. Blessings and rainbows.
Thank you, Nathan. Queer Youth of Ohio, we are here for you. That is the welcome given out by Kaleidoscope Youth to stand in your strengths, to stand in your power, and to stand for a world where everyone can be their own most confident and authentic self. If you would like to support Kaleidoscope in our community, you'd help make a difference. Regardless of your ability to give, we appreciate your presence here. Your gifts help build a better church and a better world. Thank you. Our offering will now be gratefully received.
Wonderful. Just to mention with the offertory that many of you know, I'm the former director of Kaleidoscope Youth Center. I just want you to know your gifts to that organization really do support so much queer youth joy, part of the theme here. I begin our caring meditation today with added words of inclusion from Urvashi Vad's speech at the March on Washington for LGBT. One of our great leaders passed just a few weeks ago of our movement. Moral leadership. We have come to defend our honor and win our equality. But most of all, we have come in peace and with courage to say, America, this day marks the return from exile of the LGBTQ plus people. We are banished no more. We wander the wilderness of despair no more. We are afraid no more. For on this day, with love in our hearts, we have come out to reach across America to build a bridge of understanding, a bridge of progress, a bridge as solid as steel, a bridge to land where no one suffers prejudice because of their sexual orientation, their race, their gender, their religion, or their human difference. I've been asked by the march organizers to speak about the far right which threatens construction of this bridge. The extremist right, which has targeted every one of you and me for extinction. The supremacist right, which seeks to redefine the very meaning of democracy. Language itself fails in this task, my friends. For to call our opponents the right states a profound untruth. They are wrong. They are wrong. In these times, when rights that were hard-won and are on the brink of being repealed, we know that there are even more people that need to be seen, heard, and loved. May we open our hearts to compassion and find the courage to continue the work. May we put love at the center of all we do. I invite our pastoral listeners to share this week's caring cards and the joys and sorrows submitted this morning.
We have two caring card announcements this morning. Happy birthday to Brandon Moss, whose birthday was June 7th. And we have one announcement that came in this morning. This is from Gretchen F. She says she was recently diagnosed with breast cancer and is beginning treatment. And our thoughts and prayers are with her.
As I ring our temple bell, I invite you to hold the readings, the service, but also the joys and sorrows that have been brought before us. I'll ring the temple bell once, followed by silence, and I'll ring it again as we continue our service. First UU Columbus, this church, our church, has its own rainbow history. Long on the forefront of providing our young people with education and safe places, this congregation stepped out ahead in 1998 when it called the Reverend Mark Bellatini as our first out gay minister. First UU was the first to do this in the UUA, and it took work and it took courage. And it worked. Reverend Bellatini was senior minister for 17 years until he retired in 2015.
Good morning. I was ordained by the San Francisco Unitarian Universalist Congregation in 1979, which was 11 years after the Great Stonewall Uprising in New York, which was the beginning of the LGBTQ liberation movement. And when I was ordained, before me, no one had been ordained. They had come out, but had never then served any other congregations, were never called again because, and sometimes people are surprised to hear this, Unitarian Universalists had not done the work they needed to do to be welcoming congregations, not just to people, in the chairs on Sunday morning, but in the pulpits. And that work was done. This congregation here in Columbus became a welcoming congregation very early on and was very, very active in this whole movement. But the work has to be done. Nothing is done by magic. Theology by itself doesn't mean anything unless there's understanding and real, honest-to-goodness effort on the part of the congregations to learn, to deepen, and to grow. And I'm grateful that this congregation joined so many others in doing exactly that. Happy Pride.
After a 2-year interim, First UU again broke with tradition. In May of 2017, you called me as your senior minister. I am the first woman in the long history of this congregation to serve in this capacity. Among other identities, I happen to also be gay. And it is with pleasure that I serve you and this community with pride. Together, we continue the work.
Audre Lorde, self-described Black, lesbian, mother, warrior, and poet, wrote this about where we are. Sometimes we are blessed with being able to choose the time and the arena and the manner of our revolution, but more usually we must do battle wherever we are standing. This work is for people living on the rainbow and for everyone. Allies are essential to realizing the goals of freedom for all. We invite you into this work. We invite you to cry with us and celebrate with us. Mostly, we ask that you see us. Daniel Radcliffe of Harry Potter fame might agree with this when he said, you don't have to be gay or a supporter. You just have to be a human.
Thank you all for being a part of our service today, and I just want to take a moment. Thank you all the Rainbow people who participated and presented this service. Thank you to the musicians, and thank you to everyone, whether you're on the rainbow or an ally. Thank you. It takes a community like this to make a loving village. If you're online, I invite you to bring your chalice closer so we can extinguish our chalice together. If you are here in person, after we sing our postlude, we'll get a real treat in just a moment. You're welcome to go to Beach Hall for coffee and conversation, and don't forget to come back right here in the sanctuary for the annual meeting starting at 11:30. We need a quorum, so we'll see you there. Let us say our closing words, our extinguishing words together. We extinguish this flame, but not the light of the vision. As we go forth, let us heal and transform ourselves and our world through reason and love. Our flame is extinguished, but the light lives on in our hearts and in our lives. And for our closing song, I Am What I Am, you are invited to listen, sing along, and dance as the Spirit moves you. Enjoy.
I am what I am. I am my own special creation. So come take a look. Give me the hook or the ovation. It's my world that I want to have a little pride in. My world, and it's not a place I have to hide in. Life's not worth a damn till you can say I am what I am. I don't want praise, I don't want pity. I bang my own drum. Some think it's noise, I think it's pretty. And so what if I love each sparkle and each bangle? Why not try to see things from a different angle?